I'm a true psychopath. When you're lost, take your trust. That's me. That's so sick. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psycho. Ooh. I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Yes, I'm a fraud. Call me a liar. A true psychopath. Hi guys, welcome back. It's good to see everybody here. I want to say hi to everybody first really quickly before we get started. Hey sexy wild thing, sober McLovin, freaking Claus. Hey Petunia. Hey Nate D. Hey Kay Braze, good to see you. Mo Dean. Oh, Mo has got a different and just a whole new do and attitude. I love it. Good to see you. Mayla's mom. Hey, how are you? Let me see. I don't want to miss anybody. Hey, Rainbow Mom. Or Glowbug, I'm sorry. My bad. Hey, Glowbug. Used to sing Rainbow Mom with the rainbows there. Of course, I could have learned to read, and that probably would have helped things. Hey, Adrian. Good to see you. Sorry about that, Glowbug. It's good to see you. Let me get Allie up here. Hey, babe. How are you?
Hey, sorry, I couldn't get unmuted. I'm okay. How are you?
I am so good. I'm so good. I can't even read. I'm calling Glowbug Rainbow Mom, and it's already one of these days. Already. It's already a mess.
Okay. After Melanie Gibb testifying all day, I mean, I can understand why you'd be a little thrown off.
You know what's weird about it, Allie? All day. Okay, so when I got up this morning, I did my little routine. I had to take care. The cats were needing their food refilled, and because they have that gravity
5
feeder.
hour.
5 hour and the cigarette and a coffee, but then I had like a little bit of housework to do. I had to feed the cats because if Matt can see the bottom of the bowl, it's time to call the authorities. This is starving and this is not going to be tolerated. So I had straightened up and all that stuff. So then I got into the shower and I was like, I'm going to listen to Nate give the recap because he's so good at putting all of the financial stuff in a way that flows and you can understand, and he connects all the dots. But the entire time I was in the shower, I'm going to regret this. Go ahead, y'all. Get your screen recorders ready to clip. But Melanie Gibb was on my mind the entire time I was in the shower. I just had this feeling that she was going to be testifying next. And I was like, so I kept thinking, okay, how can I figure this out? Because remember when Lori's trial was happening, Melanie was like trying to come on the low, but she's out here dressed like some, I don't know. She looked like a bootleg Mrs. Walsh from 90210 with that big old gardening hat and just. If she was trying to be incognito, like Melanie, I don't think you know what that word means, ma'am, because bruh. So I kept like refreshing Nate's Twitter X to see if he was, because I know he's at the courthouse, and I'm thinking surely he would be, he's the first one who would know about these things. And then nothing. And then it was, time to come live. And, well, you guys were here. They finished with the finances, and boom, who rolls in but old Mel G herself. But that's not even the craziest thing that happened today. Do y'all want to see the craziest thing that happened today? Because the craziest thing that happened today actually happened after court.
Oh, I
And I'm going to
definitely
show
want to
you
see.
guys about this, huh?
I definitely want to see because I haven't seen. And also, can I just say, I'm
Yes.
reading all of you guys in the chat, but I'm on the app, so I can't comment in the chat. But I'm definitely reading, and I see all of you guys. And hello, and thank you for the hellos and everything. Okay.
I've been telling Allie not to use that app, but she don't be listening. All right. So they had a hearing that the judge needed to have, and it was going to take place outside the presence of the jury. And I thought that it was going to be something about, okay, so, and I had forgotten about this, but Nate Eaton, I feel like I can't just call him Nate. I feel like I need to use both names because I don't know him. He doesn't know me. We are not friends like that, but I like to think of Nate as a buddy. Because he's just so affable. I just adore him. But anyway, that's not the point. What I thought it was going to be is, and I didn't know, I had forgotten about this. I used to know this information, but went right out of my brain. Lori Vallow's attorney and John Pryor have been trying to serve Melanie with a subpoena for a long time now. And she basically is refusing and dodging service. They want her to testify for them. And that's what I really thought was going to happen. But that's not what happened. We're about to find out what happened. Here we go.
Versus Chad Guy Daybell. Mr. Daybell is here present, represented by his attorney, Mr. Pryor. The state's here present, not currently seated at the prosecutor's table. Seated there is attorney Terry S. Ratliff, along with another attorney, Mr. Bartlett, who represents Mr. Ratliff. The court is taking up today an order to show cause hearing, and I'm going to briefly discuss the procedural history that brings us to this at this time. I'll note that this was a motion that was filed by Mr. Ratliff, who is a bar licensed attorney through the state of Idaho, and filed a pleading purporting to be the attorney for the defendant in this case. And the pleading was filed on March 29th at 11:42 p.m., so shortly before midnight on a Friday. And I do want to discuss briefly the timing of the filing.
Okay, y'all heard that? This man over here at the, I'll show you. Let me get my handy dandy point. This gentleman, it's him, right? No, let me see. Yes, is it him? Because it's backwards. So anyway, one of these two at this table right here filed a motion at midnight claiming to be Chad Daybell's attorney. That's what he claimed. Yes. And with the timing of it is interesting, and he's going to explain this, but they were all working, the state and the defense were working on voir dire. I've never heard it said that way. I always heard it voir dire, but whatever. Anyway, because they're preparing to go through the, jury selection process. So they're preparing the questions and, doing all of the things. Yes. And not only did he file it on a Friday night, right? It was also Easter weekend. Okay. So Judge Boyce is pissed. Let's continue.
The court was conducting jury questionnaires and preparing for jury voir dire in this case, which of course is a capital murder case, an incredibly serious case where the court counsel has spent a tremendous amount of time preparing for and getting ready for trial where we are now. The court was not made aware of the filing because it was not entered in the case until Sunday morning on March 29th. That would have been on March 31st. That was Easter Sunday before we were going to start with our voir dire the following Monday. On Easter Sunday, my staff attorney, who had an opportunity finally to travel home and spend Easter with her family after a very long week, was interrupted out of her church services and contacted the court that we had an emergency happening in our case that was going. And the emergency was, we had a motion to continue the trial. And I wasn't sure who was asking to have the trial continued, why the trial would be continued, but this created a tremendous amount of quick response required by the court, by staff, by clerks, by the prosecutors, by the defense, all occurring again on one of the few days we had a break as we were grinding through jury selection on Easter Sunday.
Okay. So let me maybe refresh everybody's memories why this was such like a big deal and why he's annoyed. And okay, because this trial is in Ada County. The crime occurred in Rexburg, Idaho. So, they've moved the trial to a whole different place. So all these people, they're not from there. They're from the county which this took place in. That's where they live. That's where they work. And I have to mention that because I was watching the trial today, and I was watching it on East Idaho News. And I was reading the chat as I was listening. And a lot of people were irritated and frustrated for a few reasons. One, they were irritated and frustrated because rather than a 15 or 20-minute break, the judge gives them 30 minutes. They were also irritated because, and they've been coming back, sometimes they've been coming back late. And then they were cutting out early today, leaving at 3:15 instead of what, and people were like, why are they, dipping at 3, because usually they go to 3:30. So why are they dipping at 3:30? Why don't they stay until 5? And it took me a minute. Like, I kind of was like, hey, yeah, what's up with that? And then I realized, hey, no, they have to get these people back to where they're from. They're not from here. So I wanted to bring that up. And also the reason why the judge is allowing a 30-minute, the 30-minute breaks instead of the usual 15 or 20-minute is because there are 18 jurors. Eventually it will only be 12 with 6 alternates. Okay. But that is a lot of bodies to shuffle around and, keep an eye on. So that's that's what's taking so long. Okay. So here we go. You can already hear the judge's irritation. And I realize who is who. This is his attorney, and this is who did the filing. All right, here we go.
The pleading the court received is entitled Motion to Intervene and to Continue the Trial in These Proceedings, filed by Mr. Ratliff on his official office pleading letterhead, signed by Mr. Ratliff as the attorney for the defendant, both on the signature line and on the caption. I'll note the pleading incorrectly spells the word motion. It incorrectly spells the word continue. It incorrectly spells the word proceedings in its caption. And when I reviewed this, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Ratliff, I was angry then, and I think I'm angrier now about what you did. However, in light of allowing you some due process, I looked through a correct way to handle this, and I considered Rule 11. I'll note you've retained an attorney, Mr. Bartlett, and I have reviewed a lengthy response brief along with declarations submitted on your behalf. And procedurally, where we are, first of all, the order to show cause for me is for you to explain, Mr. Ratliff, to personally explain to me how your pleading complies with Rule 11 of the Rules of Civil Procedure. Typically, when someone shows up with an attorney, their attorney gets to argue for them. However, under certain circumstances, I don't know that the right to counsel attaches, and in particular, under a Rule 11 request, I don't believe it does. I'll note the Rule 11 is a rule of civil procedure, which typically would not apply in a criminal filing. However, there are rules under the criminal rules that states we do follow civil rules when there's no corresponding rule. And in particular, criminal rules 47 and 49 indicate that filings of motions in criminal cases are to be filed in the same way and manner, and using the word manner, in which pleadings have to be filed in civil cases. Rule 11 governs licensed attorneys and the representations they make. There's been some indication of your counsel that perhaps Rule 11 doesn't apply. I believe Rule 11 does apply. I don't believe lawyers can file whatever they want in a criminal case without being subject to the representations under Rule 11, where they certify certain things and making those filings as officers of the court. To argue otherwise would say any lawyer could file anything they want in a criminal case and not be subject to any kind of sanction under Rule 11. And I believe Rule 11 permits exactly that, for me to consider it.
I'm going to speed him up a little
Rule
bit, you
11
guys.
under Part C3 allows the court to conduct an inquiry on its own initiative, and the court has done this, not at the request of the parties, but at my own request, because I do have questions for Mr. Ratliff. And I'll note procedurally, while I appreciate the time and research Mr. Bartlett has put into the case, we don't have a party in this case appearing before me. Mr. Ratliff, you are not the defendant. You are not the state. You are not a prosecutor. You are not the defense attorney. You are an attorney with a license that filed something asking me to stop this trial when I don't think you had any legal standing to do that. And I'm going to give you personally an opportunity to make any explanation you want as to some of my questions.
What, Allie?
I'm glad you're playing this because this is super interesting. Like I'm intrigued.
Me too. Like, bro, what were you thinking? Like, how did you think this would work? I'm so confused, but let's keep going because we have 20 minutes of this crap. So let's go before we can get into Melanie G, who we're all here for.
I am not going to turn this into an adjunct litigation under the auspices of this capital murder case, because quite frankly, you don't represent the defendant here. You don't represent the state. You're not a party. And I'm not going to let this devolve into a whole separate procedural mess in this case and create a record of some side issue that has nothing to do with the charges the state is currently putting evidence on for. So now that I've had my say about how we got here and why we are here, Mr. Ratliff, I have questions for you under Rule 11. And if you'd like to answer those questions personally, I will ask you some questions. If you don't want to answer those questions under the advice of counsel, I'll understand that as well. And I don't know that I even need any input from the parties. So, Mr. Ratliff, are you going to answer the court's questions as it relates to Rule 11?
Oh, his mic isn't on.
Okay. I'm not in contempt. I'm not in contempt, Mr. Bartlett.
Turn his mic on, Judge. We can't hear him.
Well,
showing cause, whether or not he complied with Rule 11, was he showing cause? We didn't know. And so we only learned, excuse me, late on his speech that I was told that it was not Rule 11.
Oh, was that inconvenient for you? Was that, I'm asking you a direct question. Was that inconvenient for you?
Your Honor, it was only that I didn't have the amount that's necessary. It's not what very sorry.
Mr. Bartlett, hold on. I indicated I wasn't going to have you argue this motion. I allowed you to start making it, and you are doing precisely that. I thought this through. I'm in Rule 11 here. I'm in a rule that governs lawyers and their pleadings. When lawyers sign off on pleadings, lawyers are responsible for their pleadings. Lawyers, unless they're facing a sanction of jail under contempt, do not necessarily have the opportunity to have counsel represent them on a Rule 11. If you file a frivolous civil complaint and a judge says, I'm going to award fees because it was frivolous, you don't get to have another lawyer from another firm jump in between you and the judge and the complaint you filed, because you have the responsibility as a licensed attorney to put your name on pleadings and stand behind your signature under those rules, under Rule 11 and what you certify, and you answer those. In my opinion, and I'm the judge here, this is how you address Rule 11. So with all due respect, Mr. Bartlett, I appreciate you attempting to and wanting to represent your client. Again, you can do that. You've talked to him before. You can talk to him after. But the questions I have on Rule 11 relate directly to a pleading that Mr. Ratliff filed as licensed attorney in this case. And I have a right to ask him about his pleading that he filed. And
Oh
so
my
if you want to
goodness.
take a moment to consult with him, you can do that. But I'm not going to have you argue the merits of this. That will be up to you or Mr. Ratliff.
I still
Thank
have an
you.
opportunity to speak with him, so thank you so much for that.
Okay, I'll take the time you need. I don't want to spend much more time this afternoon. We're in the middle of this trial. We've had evidence today. We're going to have evidence tomorrow. Make it quick and then let me know what your client wants to do.
Yes, sir.
Oh, for Pete's sake. All right, let me get to the skip button.
Was that inconvenient for you?
Well, I know.
love the judge
Listen,
was getting sassy.
I love when Judge Boyce gets sassy, and I love when he gets petty. When he pointed out the spelling errors, that was my favorite part.
I know. Yeah, that was pretty great.
Come on, what the frack?
Whatever
If it's
Heather.
there, Judge, it's there because it's a template form and I can
Same.
strike it.
Here
Okay,
we go.
so
Here we
three
go.
times you called yourself the attorney for the defendant. So who are you the attorney for?
Me.
Pleading, are you willing to answer those?
Sure am.
All right. The pleading I'm looking at, it's not been entered in the case yet, and the pleading,
So I was right. He's the person who filed the motion, and the man sitting down is his attorney, and they're switched. Because usually, you know, if you have your attorney, he's sitting on the other side of you, which was very
all right,
confusing for
you did
your
in
girl.
fact file this electronically in CR. Well, that's wrong too, the case number, but this is case CR 22211623, the state of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, I'll note the case number is wrong as well. You got it, CR 1221. The first part I want to know under Rule 11, which requires you to make representations to the court, you hold yourself out as, entitle yourself attorney for the defendant. Why do you say that?
Judge, as you know, this is a template form and I simply forgot to take that off of there. That was Scrivener's error on my behalf.
Okay,
Oh
Scrivener's
my
error.
God.
On the,
If you notice in the body of the motion, Judge.
It was on an
without permission of the
accident.
Defendant or his trial counsel.
all right, let's look at your signature on page 3. You signed Terry S. Ratliff of the firm, attorney for the defendant on page 3, don't you?
Again, because it was in my template.
All right, on page 2.
Oh
You don't read, but
again,
you
a
sign.
signature, Terry S. Ratliff of the firm, attorney for the defendant, correct?
The person who's standing is Mr. Ratliff.
Except for page 1 and 2.
Oh my God.
Bottom of the certificate of
You
service is
can't
one
even-
signature, another at the bottom of the
Right.
contents of the pleading.
Duh.
Now listen. Can you imagine if me and Allie, okay, put up the calls with Letitia Stout, and we had some kind of template wherein we just and we just overlaid it above the calls, didn't bother to listen to them to make sure that we had the right date on them or the right caller or any of that stuff, and we put it out here for you guys. And if you guys were watching it and you said, bro, what the fuck, and me and Allie were like, it was in our template. I mean, we're not even attorneys, and we wouldn't pull some BS like that. Like, take some pride in your work, sir.
Yes, take the dang time to just read over what you're doing, not to mention all the spelling errors, but
Right.
you can't remove the
Right.
attorney for the defendant.
You don't have another template, so you could have fucking plugged this shit. What are you doing, bruh?
It's kind
And
of
now,
a big deal
yeah, it is a huge deal. And
to be the attorney.
right, but
Sorry.
understand what he is understand this also. This is him explaining his work product. He is a criminal defense attorney. Bruh. Do not call this guy, y'all. If you get into trouble, if you run into some kind of situation out there in the Idahos, do not call this gentleman. He is no good. All right, let's finish this up because I really want to play the call again. All right, here we go.
If it's
Okay.
there, Judge, it's there because it's a template form and I didn't strike it.
Okay, so 3 times you called yourself the attorney for the defendant. So who are you the attorney for?
Me.
So Terry S. Ratliff, attorney for Terry S. Ratliff in this case.
I should have signed citizen.
Citizen?
Yes.
Why are you
Avoid-
referencing your bar number if you're just citizen?
Again, it's the form, Judge. It's a reference to the form. I'm not Mr. Daybell's attorney, never was.
You put this on a pleading. If you look at the top left, you've got your name, your Idaho State bar number, your Ratliff Law offices, and attorney for defendant. You're telling me you mistakenly just wanted to file something as a citizen and not as a lawyer?
I was looking for immediate relief because of the current concerns I had about the case, Your Honor.
And why were you doing that on a Friday night at almost midnight? What,
Because-
you've known about this case for a long time, according to your own content here, right?
That's correct.
So why are you doing it then?
Because I thought I needed to do something to slow it down.
Trial scheduled for how many
What?
years? And you wanted to
What?
slow it down the day before trial started?
I'd also gotten calls from Mr. Pryor, Judge, for help.
That might be fine, but did he ever retain you on the case or did you ever enter an appearance for the defendant?
I did not.
All right, and you do state in here you're filing this pleading without the permission of the defendant or his counsel, correct?
That's correct.
We ain't
You
even
also
got
state in
there,
here and call
Bieber.
yourself an intervener. What basis
Oh
do
my
you have?
God.
I know. Okay, for those of you guys who are just coming in, this is what the hearing that happened outside of the jury's presence at the end of the day today. This is why they left early. The gentleman who is at the bottom, he's at the prosecutor's table. He's not a prosecutor. He has nothing to do with this case whatsoever. But what he did was, he is an attorney. He has a bar number. He's a licensed practicing attorney. On Friday night of Easter weekend, he filed an emergency motion for continuance because it was Easter weekend. Nobody was around. So on Sunday, on Easter Sunday, the court gets notified of this. He's asking for a continuance. That's where we're at. And now the judge is taking him to task and asking him basically, bruh, what the fuck are you doing? And he's trying to explain, bruh, what the fuck he's doing. Okay, that's where we're at.
To intervene?
Based on my,
Yeah, shut him up.
it's set out in our brief, Judge, as to the basis for why I wanted to intervene.
Hmm.
In the motion, I quote you the relief I wanted. I give you the grounds on page 1 as to why I wanted that relief and why I thought it was necessary.
Okay, and you're going to intervene now, not as Terry Ratliff lawyer, Terry Ratliff citizen at large?
I think it's semantics, Your Honor.
Oh, boy, let me stop you there. It's
Citizen at
absolutely not.
large.
Our licensed attorney filing something with their bar number to the court is completely different than a citizen. That is not semantics. This is
Right.
what brings you within the auspices of Rule 11.
I understand. I said perhaps I should have signed it as a citizen, but I didn't.
All right. In your intent to intervene, whether it's as a citizen or an attorney, let me read you a couple of case quotes. Quote, the Idaho rules of criminal procedure do not provide a process for intervention. The inability of non-parties to intervene in a criminal case recognizes that the considerations underlying intervention in civil cases are not applicable to criminal proceedings. That's People versus Ham. and that's State versus Johnson, 167 Idaho 454.
I'm going to try to
And we've also
find
got
this
another Idaho
and see what
case
it
citing,
exactly he
quote,
was trying
"Petitioners
to
are correct
do
that
all this
Idaho's rules of
intervening
criminal
in.
procedure do not provide a specific mechanism
Yes,
for third
I'd love
parties
to
to
read it.
intervene in a criminal case."
Yes.
So again, I think there's settled case law that prohibits intervention in a criminal case. And I'd like to know what authority you have that says you have a right to intervene either as an attorney or a citizen in this case.
As outlined in our brief, Judge, sorry about that. As outlined in our brief, we have given the court several cases where the Idaho appellate courts have allowed people to intervene in cases in a criminal matter, even though they're not parties. That's my basis.
So you intervene, and then we've got two parties here. We've got the state, we've got Chad Daybell, and you're going to float around and be what if you intervene in this case? What are you going to be?
I'm not going to be floating around this case, Judge, because you haven't granted my motion.
Well, assuming you got to intervene, you assumed in your motion you did intervene because you called yourself the intervener once you got going in your motion. What were you going to be at that point?
I was hoping to have a hearing in front of you before the trial started.
Okay. And you said you were going to be the lawyer for the defendant or already were the lawyer for the defendant. Is that?
Not. I explained to you just a few minutes ago that that was a mistake.
This whole thing is a mistake. What the fuck?
Explain to me all of the misspellings and typographical errors in your late night filing.
I was
Oh,
nervous
dear.
and it was late at night. I didn't take this lightly.
You didn't take it lightly, but you used the wrong form. You misrepresented if you were an attorney or a citizen, and you signed 3 times as attorney for defendant.
Oh,
And that's your
dear.
explanation?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Ratliff, I find based on your responses, you have violated Idaho's Rule 11 under the Rules of Civil Procedure, which I find are incorporated through Idaho Criminal Rule 47 and 49. The court would note that in the rules under C1, it's mandatory. It says the court must impose an appropriate sanction on an attorney, law firm, or party that violated the rule. And similar to what would happen in a civil case with a frivolous type filing, which this was, this cost time, this cost effort, this cost real loss for the attorneys, for the court. I'm going to instruct counsel for both the state and the defense if they could itemize the time they have spent both in today's hearing, in preparing for the hearing, as well as in dealing with this pleading from the time it was filed on Friday night, the 29th, whatever time you put into that. I'm going to direct Mr. Ratliff that you pay reasonable attorney fees incurred for the time Mr. Pryor spent at his typical hourly rate for the state's attorneys and whatever rate they are entitled to charge as public prosecutors. And the court will likewise itemize some billing time incurred in this. And the sanction the court's going to order is the payment of those attorney fees. The court will provide time for counsel to submit those.
Look at you,
I'll review
Pryor.
those for
You're going to get
reasonableness
paid after
before I make an
all.
order. And pursuant to the rule, which requires a written order under Rule C6 of Rule 11, the court will describe in that order the conduct and the basis for the sanction, and you're going to pay for those fees. Do you understand that, Mr. Ratliff?
That's fine, Judge.
Very well. That'll
Your Honor, if I may, I'm going to request findings of facts and conclusions of law. As this court is aware, we submitted briefing that addressed many of the issues you addressed to Mr. Ratliff in great detail, giving multiple basis for his right to intervene. The judge, you have not addressed those arguments, and so I'm going to ask for findings of facts, conclusions of law.
Oh,
All right.
Jesus.
Well, Mr. Bartliff, you can ask. I'm not inclined to do that because, again, I've got a lawyer in front of me that submitted a pleading, and the lawyer is responsible for the pleading. I'm not necessarily allowing any further input on behalf of counsel for the lawyer that filed the pleading. I don't think it's proper because I'm not imposing any kind of jail time or sanction similar to Rule 75 of the civil rules, which would implicate on a contempt proceeding the right to counsel. So I'm going to stand by my ruling that I made and ask the attorneys to submit those. That concludes the matter for this afternoon.
Judge, if I may. I'm
You
sorry,
may,
Judge, I
you
am
may
not.
not. I'm done. I'm done with this issue, and I'm done wasting time on this issue in the middle of a capital case.
Yeah.
We're done. We're in
He said
recess,
that's it.
period.
No more. The end. Period.
Damn.
Right?
Three
Whoa.
phones.
Hang on a
One
minute.
was
I
her
need to
own
say
personal phone,
something
and then
in
one was-
chat. Let me just address this really quickly. Boo. I'm not going to. I don't know why. I don't even know what to say to this. I really don't, because I don't look anything like Leticia, and frankly, it's offensive. Okay. I don't appreciate that, ma'am. I do not appreciate it. All right, let me find this damn call. Hold on.
Yeah, but I get she's not.
I know.
I had seen some. Yeah, you don't even from being like your little picture in that circle and on the panel. It doesn't even actually look how the picture actually looks. Like you only see a little part of like your face is kind of cut off on the edge right there. You know what I mean? And so you still don't even really even look like you in it. So you know, it's it's okay.
Boo sheet
It'll
is
be
blocked.
okay. I love you, Jen.
Just block her. Just block. Block, block, block. No, just kidding. I don't hate you. Look, let me just, to Allie's point, look. That does not look like Letitia at all. Okay?
No, when it's bigger like that, it's way bigger.
Yes.
But you can actually see it, yeah.
Many people have seen Jen Lou, Rainbow Mom. Allie has seen me. I did have a cam slip on one of my lives a while back. I'm not gonna block you, Boo Sheet. I know it's all in good fun. Like, I'm not even mad. I just think it's funny that you said that, and then you're like,
Yeah,
"But
we
don't
love you.
We love you." Then you're right, but don't kill me. Listen, I don't take myself that seriously, A, and B, I ain't finna do 3 hots and a cots for nobody. Okay? I would not look good in orange. All right.
It's funny. Okay.
All right. So this is where I want to start with the call, because also I'd like to point out that we have new nicknames. I will be the explainer and Allie will be not the intervener. Those are our new nicknames
I
from
didn't
now
even notice
on. Please address us accordingly. Okay?
Not the intervener.
Not the
Sorry, that's
intervener.
funny. I really want to see those papers. Like, what did they say in there? Like, just
Look at
can't. And
this
he went on to
joker.
call himself the intervener. You
Mo?
made me onto something.
Now, I complimented you on your profile picture because I happen to really adore
Oh.
Ryan Reynolds. Not only is he good looking, but he is hilarious. Okay? And here you come. I'm going to find those pleadings. They've got to be part of the record if they
Yes.
if the judge addressed them. Don't you think?
Oh, that would be so funny. Yes, I would. I think they would be part of the record. Because he said it went onto the case file Sunday. That was the first time somebody had time to file it and add it to the file. So I bet you they're
Yes.
in there. And did you
That's-
see El Goofy said at first I was like, why is the suspect commentary her calls? I think they mean that they're also joking you now.
Look what you have started, Boo Sheet. Look what you have started. This is terrible. Don't look like Letitia.
Terrible.
At all. She's a
At
fucking
all.
monster, and she's evil, and she's not even funny, not even a little. This
No,
is
and
terrible,
you're
y'all.
quite funny.
You're gonna make me
But-
cry. All right, let me
No.
make fun of fucking Mel G. That'll make me feel better. Here we go. Y'all ready to hear this call? Oh, snitching ass Melanie G.
Yes.
Now, I will say this. The first part of this call was not played in the preliminary hearing. I do not recall Melanie Gibb out here making a record of the day and who she was fixing to call. And here we go. God, Melanie, you suck. All right, here we go. Poor Miss Blake. I remember there's technical difficulties, but I'm just going to kind of like try to, here comes the bailiff over to help her.
No.
Help her out. Keeping things running smooth. I'm afraid if I skip, I'll mess up, but let's go for it anyway. YOLO.
I'm going to pause there briefly.
You got me
Were you
over
able to
here
hear that?
laughing on mute.
Do you recognize the voice on there? And whose voice is that?
YOLO.
And do you recognize this as the recording that you made on December 8th of 2019? Your Honor, I believe with the additional foundation, this may be, or I
Oh,
move for the admission.
I
of
didn't
specific-
speed her. I didn't mean to
All right,
speed
I
her up because
Previously admitted it. May it be published, Mr. Pryor?
Yeah, there's no judge. You're right. You've already admitted it, so it can be published at this point.
Okay, before we do that, I am gonna maybe suggest we get a handheld microphone if one's readily available. We weren't getting great audio off of the mic on the stand there, Ms. Blake.
thank you, Claus. No, no, no,
Aw.
boo sheet. You come right back in here and sit right next to me. You're going to be my special good noodle.
I'm a lot slower.
And Your Honor, I think I'd forgotten to turn the mic on again, so we'll see if it plays through and if it picks.
Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. I just have a
Okay.
question for you, a quick one. Who do
Okay.
you like better as the prosecution? Who do you think delivers the point in a more efficient way? Lindsay or Rob?
Oh, I'm going to have to think about that one. I like Lindsay. You know why I like Lindsay? Because when Pryor makes an objection and the judge sustains it, rather than spend time arguing arguing her point, what she does is she's really quick about asking the question in a different way. She's very quick at switching gears so that she doesn't lose momentum. And I think that that's really, really important because, Pryor, a lot of the reason the objections are being made is he's trying to make a record. He's also trying to, make sure that there's nothing on his part should Chad be convicted and get automatic appeals, that ineffective assistance of counsel isn't one of his appeals. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he's trying to do. But it's not like he's making ridiculous or wrong objections, such as asking for a sidebar when there's no jury, that kind of thing. He's not doing that. He's there. These are the correct objections
Night
that he's
Rainbow.
making, but it also, he does it. Part of it is it also throws off it takes a little bit of the wind out of the prosecutor's sails when they have to stop and, change course. But she's really good about it. She's really quick about adjusting and adapting and rephrasing the question so that Melanie can answer it and they don't lose the jury's attention. All right, here we go.
Okay. All right. And I just want to say good night
Yes.
to Rainbow Mom and love you.
Good
and
night,
sweet
Rainbow
dreams.
Mom. Sweet dreams. All right, here we go. This is my favorite call. I know it's inappropriate, but I like it.
Is that better?
Okay, here we go.
And I am calling Chad Daybell's phone number. And hopefully I will be talking to both of them, Chad and Lori. So here goes the phone call.
Here goes the phone call.
Yeah, that was not played before. Nah,
It wasn't. It wasn't.
Here goes the phone call.
Here goes the phone call.
Hey, she became big buddies with Rob Wood, and I'm sorry, Pryor makes a point about all them text messages. It's like
Yes, he
hundreds of
does.
messages.
Hi, Chad. Hey,
Ooh.
Lori.
Yes, he does. And I'm only going to play the call, and then we're going to skip all the way through the questions from the prosecutor about this call and get right to the cross-examination of the defense, which is where we're going to pick up in the morning. And I will be live at 10 o'clock tomorrow a.m. So y'all come and join. Here we go.
Hey,
let me put on speaker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We're enough with the phone. How are you guys?
Okay, how are you doing, babe?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. I was wondering, where are you guys?
We're just hanging out.
Hanging out? Are you in Idaho?
We're doing all right,
Oh, okay. I just wanted to ask you a question, if you don't mind, Lori.
Yeah,
I want to know, you remember we talked about JJ going to Kay's house, and you told me they went there, and now he's not there? I was wondering what happened.
Lori's putting
Well-
it together.
I had to move him somewhere else because of her actions. So
Was she doing something? Like, was she trying to come get him or something, or like trying to kidnap him?
well, she said that lots of times before, but
Okay, when I asked Chad the other day, I was like, hey, where is JJ? And he said, for my security, he didn't want me to know. So is there a reason I should be in danger to know where he is?
no, it's nobody. It's his danger. It's the danger that there's people after me.
Okay,
So
if you knew, that puts you in a danger.
well, just in a bad position.
Bad position.
Everybody, if they don't know anything, then they don't have to say they know.
right, so you're just worried, okay.
I'm just to keep him protected and
keep you protected.
and keep everybody else.
I appreciate that. Well, I was wondering why you told the police why he was with me.
Okay, since I'm not streaming from Judge Voices, I have to make commentary and I'm going to stop right here. So here comes Lori talking about, well, I did it for your own good, Melanie. It's just to keep everybody protected and safe. Girl, bye. You put Melanie right smack dab in the middle of this investigation. You implicated her. You made her complicit, which, by the way, I think Melanie was complicit. And I think this is what I think happened. Okay. I think Chad and Lori called Melanie and said, because in the very beginning Melanie is testifying and she's talking about a conversation that she had with Lori about sending JJ to live with Kay and the possible reasons that Lori could come up with for needing JJ to go and live with Kay. Okay, well, one of those reasons is the actual reason that Lori ended up using, which was to tell, she told people that she sent JJ to live with Kay because she had cancer. So as Melanie really tries to distance herself from the role that she actually played in all of this, all of it, Melanie. Yeah. I know you don't hear me because you're not supposed to be watching. And if you do hear me, please don't say anything until well after you've testified, because I'm very interested in what you have to say tomorrow. Pryor is a coming for you. But she was very, very, she was complicit in it. And then there was another call where Chad called her. And up until this point, basically, Lori has been testifying this whole day that she barely had any contact at all with Chad, that all of the directives and things that they would, it's such a weird turn of phrase, but come to know or come to learn came from Chad to Lori, and that Lori would, tell it to the group. So there's very little contact as far as Melanie is testifying at this point between Chad and herself. Okay. So Chad calls her and says, oh, hey, by the way, we need a favor. Tell when the police call you, don't answer your phone. But before that, right? Whenever Lori asks Melanie to go to the movie Frozen and take pictures of kids.
Yeah, and I think Melanie, she does play along for a little bit.
Yeah,
like she does tell police at first that she had them. Yeah, yes. And then she changes her tune a little bit, but
yes, yeah, and this is what I think.
Kids,
yes, to make it look, to make it look, which is, I mean, bruh, come on, that's no red flags there, Melanie. This is what I think happened. I think all of that stuff did happen. But I think before Melanie made this call, she told David Warwick, who was her boo, that what was going on. And David Warwick was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Back of the milk truck up. They asked you to do what? They told you not to talk to the cops. Melanie, you're going to be roped up in whatever the hell's going on here. you better call the cops. This phone call, I believe the reason that Melanie says the things she says and the way that she says them in the in the very beginning with, hey, remember when you told me such and such? That's entrapment, ma'am.
Yeah.
But whatever, this is I believe that that Melanie's true intention was to save her own ass, and she was going to use this phone call as a little bit of leverage with the cops. That's what I think happened.
Yep. I agree.
Fucking Melanie.
I 100%
All right.
agree.
Here we go.
Okay.
I just needed to have somebody that so I wouldn't have to tell them where he really was, because they were going to tell Kay where he is.
Oh, yeah. So do you think it's like your family, or, like your family, your dad, or, those
Well, my
people?
family, well, not my whole family, but as you know, most of my family is working against me and
Yeah.
with her, basically.
Yeah. Is JJ safe?
He is safe and happy.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Are you afraid of anything? Like, are you afraid to tell me that you're just afraid that that I could be in danger? Like like I don't, like if I knew, like how could that hurt me? I don't understand how that could hurt me if I knew where he was.
Well, I'm just not telling anybody so that nobody has to say where he is or get questioned to where he is, so I can keep him as safe as possible.
Yeah. Okay, I hope that he's okay. I hope you guys are okay. But I did have a question that I asked Al at one point, your brother, if I wanted to know, like where he was, and he said I did not want to know, and that he could not be found. So what does that mean?
Okay, just really quick before Lori answers this question. There's going to be like this part of the conversation, and then I think there's like one more question out of Melanie. And you can almost right now you start to the pauses in between when Melanie finishes her question and when Lori or Chad or both of them answer. It's almost like Lori you can hear that little hamster wheel up in Lori's brain turning. And I can just picture Chad and Lori sitting, Chad holding the phone, they're on speaker, sitting next to each other and them looking at each other, knowing this chick is up to no damn good. She's gonna rat us out. Because if I were talking to Allie on the phone and I said to Allie, the other day I was talking to Bentley, Bentley, your son. I know Allie would be like, girl, what? Yeah. Why would anybody why would I tell Allie that Bentley is her son? But she should know that it's her son, right? So why did Melanie say, when I was talking to Al, your brother Al, of course, if that's her, I mean, you know what I'm saying? They're all buds, right? They're in the casting and chill club. So why does she need to specifically say Alex? This is why I have a huge issue with Melanie Gibb, because this phone call is not to help anybody but Melanie. That's it. That's
Exactly.
all. And that's why no me gusta Melanie Gibb. Ever. Melanie, the friendship door is closed. There's nothing that you could say.
I don't know if he would say that, but it's the same story. Like I don't even want Al to know. I don't want anybody to know, so that nobody has to be worried about it. I mean, nobody has to be questioned about it, so he can be safe.
Yeah. So how long are you gonna be away for? Like are you ever gonna be able to come out and come back to society again? Or are you gonna keep, come back? I mean, what does that look like?
I will do whatever the Lord needs me to do every day. So
I just wondered if I was ever going to see you again.
Absolutely, you will.
Okay, so.
In court and then in hell.
So maybe when they're done chasing you, you'll be able to come out of, you'll be able to come out again, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ridiculous thing for them to be working with Kay to find me. There's nothing that's gone on that's, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're working with her in some dark capacity. The police are working with her in some dark capacity. There's no reason for them to be after me in the first place.
They're not after you. They're after the
Has
kids.
has she threatened you at all?
Yes, lots of times.
Oh boy, like, what did she say?
Well, it's in emails and everything. So.
So, like, she said she was going to come take them, or she was.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Nellie.
I know, it sounds like it. I'm just worried for you guys because, you know, he's missing, and, you know.
I know exactly where he is. He's perfectly fine.
Okay, well, I hope so. I had a scripture I wanted to share with you, if you don't mind.
I'd love it.
I was thinking about some of the things you guys have gone through.
Hold on, you
And I
guys.
saw this.
So Melanie is going to get out this scripture, but before she get this is that once Melanie reads this passage from this piece of scripture from the Bible, it's all going to go south real quick. And there's going to be a scripture off. Melanie is going to call Lori a hoe in Bible. It's about to go down. But before that, that last thing that Lori said, Melly, this is when that hamster wheel is really going now. You know, that poor hamster on that rusty ass wheel with the bad knee, that wheel is really spinning right now. And Bushit, they were in Hawaii, right, Allie? Hawaii at this time? Yeah. That's where they were hiding out. Right? Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
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 They were in Hawaii.
Sorry. It just
hanging
takes
out
a
in
second to
Hawaii.
unmute.
Hey, I'm Caitlin. Hey, Natasha. Every Crime Crochet and Coffee, Debbie Doodles, everybody coming in. Thank you for the Jade Raid. Yay. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. It's about to go down. They're about to have a scripture off and calling each other's name in Bible. So here we go.
Scripture today. And I want you to
Let me ask you a question. About the scripture. Okay. So did Alma turn himself into King Noah? Or what was he required to do?
Well, King Noah was incredibly wicked.
Yeah.
So he fled his evil ways, which was adultery and living riotously and breaking all the commandments. It was
right.
A very
so what was he required to do, Alma?
He had to go and flee so that he would be safe, and then help other people realize how, you know, jacked up the system was and the government was.
What about Moroni? What was he required to do at the
end? To carry on.
Hold on before we get into Moroni. Let me explain something why this part is even more irritating to me now that I've heard it for the third time. So when Melanie was testifying this morning, Lindsay Blake asked her about the different probations, lifetimes that Chad and Lori did, which reminds me, apparently, when Chad and Lori met for the quote unquote first time, and I use that, I have to quote it because there has been this long-standing rumor that's been floating around for quite some time that that is the time that Chad and Lori met face to face for the first time, but it's not been proven, and I don't know if it can be proven, but many people close to Lori suspect that she was actually writing Chad and Chad was writing her well before that. Because I got to say, and I kind of say that I do kind of think that there's a kernel of truth to that, and here's why. She and Melanie read Chad's books. Melanie physically met Chad before Lori, and she's the one that introduced them. Okay, that's Melanie's story. But the way that it happened, Chad, they were at this, convention or whatever. And, Lori just walks up to Chad's booth and starts helping him sell his books. Does that even sound right to y'all? I mean, I get being a helperton and stuff, but that's extra. You don't know this man from a hole in the wall, and you're over there at his booth helping him to sell his books. That sounds like somebody, and Chad never stops her, and it's like, bro, what are you doing? I don't know you like that. Like, hands off the merchandise, he didn't know, but Lori was so cute and pretty that he was just blown away and like, well, look at this, nice chick who just is good looking and wants to help me out of the kindness of her heart. Bruh, no. That's why I don't be believing that I do believe this is the first time they saw each other in person, but I do think that they'd been communicating before that. What you think, Allie?
I do too, because she was a huge fan of his books, and I can only imagine emails or things that she would have sent him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She thought,
yes.
She was a fan.
Yes, she was. She fangirled over Chad.
Yeah.
Chad, she fangirled over him. Just wrap your brains around that. Wrap your brains around fangirling over somebody whose entire belief system is based on season 2 of Supernatural. Just put that in your brain. He's not even original. Okay? It's too much for me. I can't. All right, here we go. Oh, the Moroni thing. So anyway, Lori, Melanie is explaining that Chad and Lori knew each other in different lifetimes, and in different lifetimes, they were different people. They were James and Elena. They were somebody in Moroni. Lori was married to Moroni, and obviously that would make Chad Moroni, but the way that Melanie says it is some guy named Moroni. Okay. She just doesn't know who, this is just some weird made up name. She has no idea who Moroni is. Okay. Moroni is huge in the Mormon religion and the LDS faith. He is the person that carried the gold plates and later revealed where the gold plates were located to Joseph Smith. Those gold plates are the foundation of the Mormon religion. Of course, she knows who the hell Moroni is. Okay. And she's about to break it down exactly how much she knows who Moroni is. You got anything to add, Allie?
Nope.
Okay, here we go.
On those plates and bury them. That was his responsibility.
What did he have to do that? Did he hide?
He had to hide. He had to hide because they were so. Everybody was killing everybody in the society. Everybody was dying. They were killing all the Nephites.
And the scriptures had to hide in the cavity of a rock by day and go out by night.
The prophets did.
They did.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for sharing that with me. Okay, this scripture is just something that may be thoughtful for you. For behold, this is Doctrine and Covenants, section 3, verse 7 and 8. It says, for behold, you should not have feared man more than God. Although men set not the counsels of God and despise his words, yet you should have been faithful, and he would have extended his arm and supported you against all the fiery darts of the adversary. He would have been with you in every trouble. So when we work with the Lord and are obedient, He's going to protect us from adversarial darts and all kinds of negativity. But when we open the door to Satan, he comes in and then he attacks. And then he takes away to make it look like somebody else took it away. But that's not how God works. He doesn't work in darkness.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what the Lord is doing for me. Exactly what he's doing for me.
Oh, it just sounds weird.
For darkness, no. Darkness is knocking on the door all the time because that's the way dark works with the light.
Excuse me, Lori, ma'am, you are the darkness. So probably the darkness isn't knocking at your door because you are the darkness. The other thing I want to explain to people, because This kind of bugged me earlier, like when I was reliving the whole Moroni moment, and the way that Melanie is explaining multiple probations and the light and the dark scale. There is a kernel of, I mean, that's not just made up. That does come from somewhere that she's referencing what's known as a soul contract. It's been twisted. It's not, I don't think, how it was intended to be used, but that's what she's speaking of, is a soul contract. I don't know that you can, I don't know. It's very twisted. It's a lot of, but it doesn't come from nowhere. There are, it comes, it is part of the Bible. Here we go.
And I promise you that I have done nothing wrong in this case, but sometimes you have to hide in a cavity of a rock for your own life safety. And that's what the Lord requires of you sometimes. And that's how it is. And I'm sorry that's how it is, because there is a lot of darkness on the earth.
I know.
It's been after me for zero reason besides the darkness of Kay, which you already know she's dark.
I haven't met her enough to know if she is dark or not. I've just met her slightly, and she seemed like a normal kind of person, but then I haven't engaged with her that much, so I don't know that personally.
So you don't know about her changing the thing for herself to be the beneficiary of the policy and all that stuff. None of that's dark, right?
Well, I haven't seen those documents, so I have no way of knowing.
I've seen them on my computer.
No, I have not. I haven't even looked in on your computer before. You haven't showed me anything.
Being controversial to me, or if you're recording this conversation for the police or whatever, I don't know what your intention is on this phone call.
Well,
but I love with all my heart, and I have forever, and I will always love you.
I appreciate those words, but if you really love me, you wouldn't have told the police that I had JJ with me. That's not what a friend does. I mean, that just makes me look weird, and it's not safe for me. That doesn't look good. I mean, you had to think of my welfare if you love me.
I do, and I did exactly what I felt the Lord was instructing me to do. And I appreciate you, and I love you.
I'm just.
And I will never do anything to harm you. And you can have all of this confirmed to you by the Lord.
I have. And my conscience is clear. I feel very understanding what's really going on, Lori. And I believe that you have been very deceived by Satan. I believe that he has tricked you. And I don't believe that what you're doing is correct. I just don't. I mean, Tammy dies, and then your husband died, and then he's missing. It just doesn't sound like God's plan to me.
Okay. Well, hello, Melanie. Now that the cops are calling you, now you think it's time to speak up. Now is the time for you to be asking
Yes.
questions. Where were you?
Now it doesn't sound like God's plan. Okay.
Right. Now, whoa, pump the brakes. I've done some thinking, and this sounds like, Lori, I don't want to burst your bubble, but you may have been hoodwinked by Satan. I think Satan has bamboozled you. That's basically what Melanie is saying now, after all of these things have happened. Not before, now. And the only reason, and I stand firm in this, I think the only reason that Melanie Gibb recorded this phone call once again is to keep her butt out of trouble. She didn't do it because she cares about JJ. She didn't do it because she cared about Tylee. When you listen to her, especially on cross-examination, she never uses the children's names. And when she does, it's like she's having to make herself use their names, as if she's thinking. At one point, she almost said the boy when it sounded like and then she said JJ. So that, it was very off-putting to me, and I don't have a whole lot of patience for Melanie anyway, but she's gross. She's gross.
Yeah, she didn't like
She's
the kids. That's just that.
No, she didn't. She didn't. All right. This is a now now it's about to get real. And for real, like it's just gonna get worse from here. So here we go.
Just sounds, it gives me a gut feeling, like in my gut, it feels weird. It doesn't feel right. I don't have peace about it. I never have felt 100% peace about it. I always felt like a little weird in my stomach about all these things.
You know me, Mel. You know me. This does not sound like you. This sounds like you've been influenced by somebody dark who wants you to believe dark things and have fear of the celestial world.
I don't have fear.
You obviously do.
No, I have a peace of conscience and I can see clearly.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I love you so much.
I know you do. I don't know what else to say.
Stand Christ when he comes again, and he's coming soon, and we will all stand there, and you will know at that point that he is supporting me and has supported me the whole time, and I have not been deceived.
I just want to testify that I know Tammy does have the conspiracy theories. My sister-in-law's right behind it all, and I hope that you're not being influenced by that dark team.
I don't know who she is. I'm sorry, you said your sister-in-law? I don't even know her.
I know, but she's coming up with the same type of theories.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not true. My own children were there. They testified that Tammy had been getting weaker and sick, and I begged her to go to the doctor. Her heart was failing her. She was physically falling apart, but she hates doctors, and she just passed away. That's how it happened. My son Garth was right there with me the whole time. My kids were at the house within 20 minutes of her passing. There were 2 coroners.
Okay, I'm gonna have to stop you right there, Chad. That's not 100% accurate. You said that you woke up to the blanket sort of being pulled off of you because Tammy was falling off of the bed. And then when you went over to touch her, she was cold. I'm not sure, but nobody was in the room right there. It's not like Tammy was on hospice and you guys were all there and, she passed in front of everybody. No, nobody was there when she actually passed. Stop playing with these people, Chad. Happened. I'm going to need you to stick to the facts, buddy.
I checked her out right there on the bed. All these conspiracy theories just make me sick to my stomach. Just absolutely sick.
It's logic, Chad.
I've been told for years that Tammy would pass away at a young age. And I had no idea that Lori would even be a part of my life. I just knew that my life had 2 segments. And I know Tammy's on a special mission and she's with my kids. She's visited them. There's so much, Melanie, that you just have to have faith. And this is not some sort of master plan. There's no way Lori and I should ever come up with this. It's just.
You can understand my concern, correct?
I can from an outside perspective, but from
someone who knows as much as you know, no, not really. But we can feel Dave's influence on you. I can feel that for sure.
He's a very good man, and he has a very strong foundation. That I know.
I know, but he seems to be the one that's putting the doubts in your mind.
No. You know what? I have come to understand that my gut feeling, I was not listening to it. And I always felt uncomfortable with many things.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry that I included you in those teachings then for your own sake, because I wish that you didn't have as much knowledge as you have, because you will be accountable for the knowledge that you do have, Mom.
So are you.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. So
100%. I have no fear.
Yeah.
I have no fear of that.
But I really, as I was reading the story of Korihor, and it is so very similar to this. You just can't see it. But he did it because he was trying to reclaim a people, and he thought at the very end, because of his carnal and natural desires, that's what influenced him. And he was very, very defeating.
Natural desires.
Well, honey, you got a lot of natural desires. We all know that.
I'm sorry, I had to stop it right there. Honey, you got a lot of natural desires. We all know that. That's basically Bible speak for you hoe. Look, here's the deal. First of all, there's no conspiracy. Conspiracy theories are out, you know, are different than logic. You know, when Chad started going around rating people light and dark, and then on a scale of how dark the dark was, right? And the darker on the scale the people were, they ceased to be living. And you're connecting those dots. That's not a conspiracy theory. What you did was a conspiracy to commit murder, Chad and Lori, but that is not a conspiracy theory. Maybe it is a theory of your conspiracy to commit murder, but it is not a conspiracy theory. That's fucking a logic. That's looking at things from point A to point B and point C in a straight line and seeing how you got there.
Yep. Yeah, and you got a lot of natural desires is Bible for you ain't nothing but a hoochie mama. You know what I
Hood
mean?
rah, hoochie mama.
Yes.
Because my sister
Okay, I
baby
knew you
cousin
would
saw you
sing.
at the movies last week. We're all hugged up with some tramp. Now tell me who she was. Lori.
I knew you would sing if I said that. Like Jen will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Use a hoe, Lori. Notice that Melanie like Lori keeps saying how much she loves Melanie. She loves Melanie, and Melanie doesn't say I love you back.
Yeah.
It's funny to
She's
me.
like,
All right.
okay. I know.
Okay. That's nice. You too.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's what you think is me, Cora? Are you kidding me right now?
I'm dead
I think both
serious.
of you
I'm
have
being dead ass.
similarities. It's in the scriptures.
Oh, I meant to mute,
It's
not
in the
pause. My
scriptures.
bad.
And the scriptures are very powerful.
Yes, they are. I live by the scriptures, as you know.
I know, but we can rest the scriptures for our own vain glory.
I rested the scriptures?
We can do that. And I feel that you have to suit our belief systems.
Do I rest the scriptures? Is that what you're accusing me of at this point?
I feel that you have.
Why do you feel that way? I need an explanation on this.
Because if you look, like the scripture just shared, okay,
the scriptures every single day, you know?
I know you read them. I know about that. But this scripture right here says that you will be supported by all against the fiery darts of the adversary. You would have been supported if you had not opened dark portals and dark junk. You would have been safe if you would have obeyed God. He would have had your back. But you have been chased and tortured and
this or not,
I'm sorry.
He had back. So
well, if he has your back, you would not be able to tell me where you are, and we couldn't find JJ. Like, where is he? I've been asking, where is he? And you know what I mean? Like, that's
I could tell everyone where JJ is right now, and that would not be good, JJ. So I'm sorry that you don't want me to protect my children, but I would never ask you to not protect your children.
Of course you wouldn't.
So I can tell that you're just adversarial, Mel. I love you. I'm sorry that you feel this way.
Because I actually do care. I'm sharing what I feel for you because I know your salvation's in trouble for what you've done.
Okay, my salvation is not in trouble at all. And I think you should check that with the Lord again.
Oh, I felt a lot of things from the Lord. And this doesn't feel right.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, sweetheart. I'm sorry that you're friends with all those who are against me. Joseph Smith's friends turned against me.
I'm not a friend. I'm not friends with people that are against you.
Apparently you are.
I am not. I don't know Kay. I don't know who you're talking about. Your sister. I don't even know what her name or who she is. I don't know any of those people. Why would they contact me anyway? How would I even know about that?
Well, you're friends with Dave, and he's
Well,
apparently, you know.
Well, David is a very righteous man, and I've always known that grounding about him. And he has a lot of beautiful experiences with the Lord, and these are not the same. You know, when you get the priesthood, that's Peter, James, and John shows up, and then he confirms all of those in the circle that are to get it, and everybody's a witness of that. Everybody's a witness that the pattern is in the scriptures. There's no witness that you ever receive what you think you received. Nobody has seen that but you. There's no witness. The witness, Joseph Smith, Oliver Cowdery, Martin Harris, the 8 witnesses, they all showed up.
Is there a witness when Jesus, Heavenly Father, gave that to Joseph Smith by himself in the grove? Was there a witness?
No, but they had it later with other people. That was one experience, but others joined in later. When he brought other people into it, they had experiences.
Scriptures, yes or no?
I'm sorry?
Is that in the scriptures, yes or no?
That Joseph was alone when he saw God the Father and Jesus Christ? Yes, he was alone.
He was alone.
But he had to open it up first.
That's not a pattern at all.
Honey, what I'm saying is that after he saw that and other people joined in, they saw the things with him. He wasn't alone. There was a witness for them. There was no witness. Anybody's never seen what you've seen or experienced what you've seen. That's your own witness, but nobody said that.
No, God knows it, and I will never deny it. For my soul would be at stake if I did. So you can say it didn't happen to me, Mel, but if I say it, then I am accountable. You didn't witness it.
Okay,
I did.
but your behaviors is not, okay, I understand that's what you believe you saw, but this is the thing, as I see, is that your behavior is not one of somebody that's seen Christ. Your behavior. What?
Never had any idea that you would be the person of all people to turn me. I cannot believe
I am asking questions, and I am concerned for you. That is what somebody.
Hey, if Chad can see all the things from his portal in the closet, how didn't they see that Melanie was going to turn? How'd they miss that? You shouldn't have gave her that awful haircut, Lori. That's why she turned.
Does when they care.
You don't sound like you're concerned. You sound like you're accusatory. You do not sound concerned. You sound pissed off.
I'm not. I am troubled. Maybe that's the better word. Troubled. Because these things, like you being with Chad before he's even divorced, is unusual behavior for a person that's seen Jesus Christ.
I was never with him and he was never divorced.
Honey, I've seen you guys together. So I haven't ever seen you with, I've never seen you with Chad kiss him and walk around the track at BYU with him. I never saw that. You see,
you were the one just feeling guilty about being with someone before they were divorced.
Oh, honey. I think that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, it's not what we're talking about here. That's what I'm saying. You are going off the deep end.
Well, I'm just saying this is not a behavior of someone that sees Jesus Christ. It's not the behavior.
Really? Have you ever seen Jesus Christ? So do you know what the future behavior would be if you had seen Jesus Christ?
I know that when I prayed.
I don't want to be the heathen in the back of the class to point this out, but I guess I'm going to have to because I'm watching chat and none of y'all jokers are pointing it out. Jesus hung out with the whores and the lepers and the people that he felt needed him, okay, according to the stories in the Bible. So I don't know what you're talking about, either one of you. It makes no sense to me. This is the most asinine argument I've ever heard in my entire life. What say you, Allie?
I agree, and that's a good point because it's true. And that's all. Just listening to these crazies.
They're crazy. Have you ever heard? Can you imagine if Allie and I got into a fight and started insulting each other using passages from the Bible? They're both accusing each other of being hoes and adulterers. Because the fact of the matter is, Lori is not wrong in this. David Warwick may have been on the road to having his divorce finalized, as Melanie G puts it, but he was not. His divorce was not finalized when Melanie and David came down to Feel the Fire, to do the Feel the Fire podcast, and then hang out in Tylee's room, just chatting and reading scripture. Okay. He was still, so it is what it is. So now they're both arguing. I don't know about who's the bigger hoe, the messier hoe, the stupider hoe. I don't even know, because some of these, and I'm not making light of the religious aspect of it. It's just, to me, I don't understand any of these scriptures that they're quoting. So I'm not exactly sure what the insult is. I'm trying to figure it out.
Melanie's like, we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
not
okay.
talking about me, Lori. We're talking about you and your hoe ways.
Yep.
It's almost done, and then I swear we're going to get to the cross-examining, because prior, just bless us, it was too much.
Need to do every day, and he does protect me, and he is protecting me, and he will protect me against this accusation as well. And we will both stand there with him, and you tell me if I was lying or not, but we're both standing there with Jesus Christ. Okay.
I know it's over, but wait till Lindsay asks this question.
And Miss Gibb, it sounded like that call abruptly ended. What happened?
Just disconnected. Sometimes it disconnects in that particular area that we're in.
Okay.
What?
She won't even admit that Lori straight hung up on her ass. Now listen, kids today will never understand the satisfaction that one gets from literally slamming down a telephone receiver. There isn't anything, hitting the end call button angrily just doesn't quite do it. But yeah. Lori hung up in her face. I don't know what, it's ridiculous. Melanie, stop playing with these people. All right, hold on.
Yeah, sometimes you just lose signal there. Are you sure?
She said sometimes we just lose signal. Who's we, Melchi? You got a mouse in your pocket? No, you don't. David's sitting next to you, helping you out, feeding you the answers. Stop playing. We had a whole Bible off. And here's where Mr. Pryor begins. Let's see.
Lori, Alex, your husband, David, Zulema.
Zulema.
So you met Chad approximately when?
The summer of 2017.
And that was at a Preparing the People encampment, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and before we go too far, Preparing the People is an organization that talks about when there's going to be a second coming and how you respond to that. Is that correct?
It had multiple levels too.
Okay, so
talks.
talk to me a little bit about that. What were the levels?
No, I don't want to hear about the preparing of people. I'm sorry. We're skipping ahead. Because it's right. I think it's right after the afternoon. Yeah.
Poor Melanie always has a long day when she has to come to court here. Not poor Melanie, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, Pryor isn't even close to being done with her.
Oh no, he's been waiting for this moment for literal years.
He
Showing
has.
up at every hearing. Yeah.
He has
Lori
been.
stuff.
Yes, he has been waiting for this day since their first face off during the preliminary hearing. I'm trying to remember, and listen, I want you guys to know that are watching live now, and that anybody that may watch on the replay, in an effort to, I actually tried to prepare better for this live, and I was going to use the transcript to find the actual pieces that I wanted to play for you guys, like the part where Pryor calls Melanie out for being an adulterer. But there's no transcript. There's not one on East Idaho News. There's not one on Court TV, and there's not one on Law and Crime. So now we're going to have to do things the old fashioned way, where Jen Lou is going to skip around and hope we land in the right spot. Okay.
And hope for
That's
the
it.
best.
Hope for the best. We're just going to skip around and hope for the best.
I would say that the transcript will be available like tomorrow or something, because I think where it's such a long video, it's just taking
Oh, I didn't
YouTube
think
longer
about
to
that. You're so smart, Allie.
Mhm.
I didn't think about that. I was just disgruntled because it wasn't there. I didn't bother to think it might be there later because dang it, it wasn't there when I needed it to be. All right, let's see
Yeah,
where we
so
are
who
now.
cares?
Who cares?
Okay.
Not gonna do me any good tomorrow.
Oh, I think it was just you and Lori were involved, was starting to prepare to do what's called a podcast.
Are you talking about the evening, the one on Sunday evening?
That Sunday, we're on Sunday right now, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, we were gonna sometime do it. We weren't sure exactly where we're gonna get to it, but we finally got to it on Sunday night.
Right, and correct me, was it just you and Lori, or was David involved in that too?
All three of us,
The
yes.
three of you, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you were gonna do this podcast, and you did that, and my recollection is it started at like 8 or 9 o'clock,
Yeah, that sounds about right.
and it went till after midnight.
Yeah, somewhere. I knew it was like around midnight. I don't know if it was after it. I just know it was kind of late.
Okay, so you didn't see Chad other than on Sunday. You saw Chad for the land. And you didn't see him that night during the podcast, right?
He might have come over after the land. I don't recall, but he was not at the podcast.
Okay. And you don't recall whether he was there after the land, though. You're saying he may have.
It's possible.
Okay. Okay. But then during the podcast, my understanding is that sometime during the podcast, you observed Alex Cox carrying JJ Vallow on Sunday night with his head on his shoulders upstairs.
That's right.
Okay. And you don't know which bedroom he put JJ in, is that right?
I did not witness where he put him, but he was not in JJ's room or he was not in Tylee's room.
That part right there. Should we listen to that part again? Did you hear what I was talking about earlier, Allie?
Wait, which part that you were talking about?
Where
earlier?
when I said she starts to say JJ, it's almost like
Oh,
she
yeah,
is
can you play it
calling
again?
him the boy. Yeah, I'm going to rewind it. All right, here we go.
Bedroom he put JJ in, is that right?
I did not witness where he put him, but he was not in JJ's room or he was not in Tylee's room.
Okay.
You
But
see?
you and David were in Tylee's room that night.
Mm.
Yes. I'm not sure what she's trying to say there. It almost sounds like she is starting to say the boy, and let me tell you why I'm making a point about this. Okay. When you look at the timeline of the events as they happened, hold on a second. The way that everything came, ATS, good to see you, babe. The way that it happened was the first person that was declared dark was Charles Vallow, and they would do these castings. Lori would, Melanie, Zulema, and some other people. Chad included, but the people doing the castings were together, but they were working on it where Charles Vallow was not present, physically present. So first, he's inhabited by Ned Schneider. Then they get rid of the dark entity Ned Schneider, and then another one I keep wanting to say it like from Big Daddy, hippopotamus, Hippolytos or whatever his name was, the second demon. And then after that, Charles is killed by Alex Cox. Okay. Then you have Tammy's dad. Well, Tylee and JJ go missing. Then Tammy dies. But in the problem that I had, let me just say it flat out because I'm getting tired and I'm getting annoyed. There were enough red flags that Melanie Gibb should have been able to put 2 and 2 together, that when they were talking about the body needs to die, that they were talking about that in a literal sense, not metaphorical, after Charles was killed. Okay. And
and she does put it together. Sometimes when she's questioned, you can tell that she knows that that's what it meant. And then other times she walks around it, like at least in her other hearings, in the other hearings.
Yes, exactly. So she was aware that JJ and Tylee had also been deemed dark. She was told that. She was told that when they were doing the podcast, that not on the podcast or anything, but during that visit, that Lori was telling her that. And I think, this is just my opinion and I cannot prove it, why it matters that she refers to him as the boy is because I believe she knew exactly what was going to happen to JJ. And in order for somebody to be okay with something like that occurring, they have to take the human out of the person. And the most human thing about us, the most individual thing about us is our name. That's how people know us. And I think that in her, it just seems like she was aware of what was going to happen and she was going along with the plan until the law got involved, until the police got involved. And then all of a sudden it became not such a good idea. But her thought process and the way she thinks about all of that stuff hasn't changed. We're into 2024. This happened in 2019. She still thinks that way. That's just my opinion.
No, you're right. I agree at least I agree. I mean, I don't know if you're right, but I agree with you. I think you're right because she definitely knew that obviously being dark, what happens to you then you see, especially after seeing what happened to Charles, and you do have to almost like dehumanize, or you would think that they would need to dehumanize the person at least to a degree. So Bieber had put in the chat, like she could have been saying the baby. And I see why you think that, because if it was me, I would say that, like, where he wasn't in the baby's room, or you know what I mean? I could say that.
Yes.
But Melanie, I don't see her talking like that because she's she seems to hate these kids. Yeah. And cold. I could see. Yeah. She probably, I just couldn't see her saying the baby's room. She's more likely to say in the boys' room or whatever.
Yes. She very rarely uses JJ's name. She very rarely uses Tylee's name. She's just, I don't know how she feels about other children or her own children, but I can tell you that she has nothing but she comes off as having nothing but disdain for Tylee and JJ. And the fact that you can still hear it in 2024 as much as you could hear it in 2019, 2020, 2021, and the testimony 2023 when she testified, all of these things is alarming to me. Because
I agree with
if
you.
anything,
she seems to hate kids.
Yes, and if anything, you would think that she would feel some sadness about it and shame, like, oh my God, I can't even believe that I entertained any of this, let alone participated in it for any amount of time. I wish that I had done something sooner, but she doesn't ever say anything like that. And she never comes across that way. It's almost like she's still protecting the belief system that she still holds. And I'm not talking about the
you're
LDS.
exactly right.
I'm talking about this other side, the side quest.
Yeah. You're so right, because you would think that her demeanor and even her tone would be different, remorseful, and that you would also think that, but with all this time that's passed, that it would create some sort of like connection or care for these kids, right? Like think about
Right.
how we feel about them. Yeah, it makes no sense the way that she references them. And Kathy, you're right. She that phone call where she basically bashed the kids, that she's disgusting. I have nothing for her. When she thought nobody was listening and it was just a random person off Facebook, and me and Jen have listened to that before on past lives and stuff. But yeah, she just she's gross.
She told how she really feels. Very. And I think that that's part of the reason I think why Pryor is getting frustrated with her, because but and I will say this, as far as viewing wise, it made for the back and forth between them made for an interesting day in court. However, I do think that Pryor is walking a really fine line, particularly when Lindsay Blake is objecting and saying that his question is argumentative and the judge is sustaining them, because it's starting to come across a little combative.
Yep, it is. I agree. But I can see why he's frustrated with her. But yes, it is.
Because I think another element to Pryor's frustration with Melanie is that she's even testifying and is almost like some sort of star witness in a sense, because the way that she's testifying today, she barely knew Chad. They barely had any interactions, and he did make this point. All of the directives didn't come directly from Chad to Melanie. They came from Chad to Lori, then to Melanie. And that's only all Melanie could really testify to, is that Lori told her they came from Chad. There's no proof that any of that came from Chad. And I mean, as much I believe that, I don't think that it came from all from Chad. I think it came from Chad and Lori. I think they discussed these things, quite frankly. But I have to call it like I see it, and to call it right that is a good point. That Melanie has admitted that Lori is a liar, that Lori has lied to Melanie. And so, I feel like that was a good point that he made right then.
Yeah, I mean, Pryor can be a decent attorney at times, and he really does fight till the end. He's just a little too passionate, and he seems a little too personally connected to some of this. Like he gets, I know exactly what you're talking about, because it was question after question, argumentative, and the judge was sustaining them. So
right. And I think that I would like to know, and we won't know unless Chad passes away, which is the only thing that, I mean, I suppose he could give permission, but I don't think it works like that. But anyway, to, break attorney-client privilege. But there is something deeper about Melanie to Pryor, in my opinion, because other people testified at that preliminary hearing, and Pryor did not speak to them or ask the questions he did the way that he did to other people.
Maybe he
And
knows that Melanie should be charged. You know what I
I
mean?
can't
And
quite figure out what it is. I'm curious about these dadgum texts that he's
yeah, me
talking
too.
about between Melanie and
300
the
and some
state.
times.
Yes,
That's a lot.
that
Jeez.
is a lot. That is a lot. And what I can't figure out is a lot of people have asked if Melanie has some type of deal, but she can't, because if she did, the state would have to disclose that to
Yeah.
Pryor. And you know Pryor would be bringing that up every third question, and he hasn't.
Yeah.
So she has nothing.
I remember him asking in the other hearing, like the preliminary, he was questioning that. So
Yeah,
now he must know, either way. So, and they do
exactly.
have to disclose it, right? It
Yes,
has to be.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I mean, that goes to credibility. That goes to the motive for her being up there testifying. Is she testifying? And is she testifying, number one? And and the way that she is testifying, was that influenced by her need to keep her ass out of jail because because she has some kind of deal?
I don't know, Kathy. I don't know that I've never heard that before.
What?
She says, I believe her and Zulema had limited immunity. Now that you say that, I do remember
I'm
something about
Googling. Keep going, Allie.
something with Zulema. I can't remember what it is though, and it's been, I like I said the other day. I don't know if like, well, I had said this the other day. I swear to you, I remember June 9th of 2020 where I was sitting and exactly what I was doing when I found out the kids were found. Like that was June of 2020. And they were missing months and months before that. It has been years and years of stuff. Like I just can't remember it all. But I do remember something with Zulema and Melanie. But I don't remember if it was like a proffer, an interview, an agreement for an interview. I don't remember what it was. Are you Googling? You want
Yes.
to press play and we can listen
Yes,
while you
I'm
look?
sorry. I got
No,
distracted.
that's okay.
Here we go.
No, yeah, that's okay.
No, we were in both, well, no, it was JJ's room.
Oh, you were in JJ's room?
Yeah, it was JJ's room.
Okay, now in terms of the bedrooms, when you walk up the stairs, there's 3 bedrooms up there, correct?
Yes.
And they're all relatively close bedrooms. Would you agree with that?
Tylee and JJ's were close and Lori's was down the hallway.
Okay, but when we say down the hallway, that's a relative term, isn't it?
Well, they're not as close as the other two.
Right. But they're also not a long distance away. This was not a large townhome, was it?
No, it was just from one end of the townhome to the other.
Right. It's a short distance to one
I
bedroom.
guess relative to a lot of things, yes.
Okay, okay. So when you went to bed at whatever time that was after the podcast, at that point, you were presuming that Lori also went to bed and decided to lay down with JJ, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you and David you went to sleep after some prayer.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know where JJ was that night, correct?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. But you were in the house when Alex brought him up initially at what time was that when Alex brought him up again?
I don't recall. It was a little bit, maybe a few hours into us doing the podcast.
Okay. And then you said David had, I don't want to put words, he had a nightmare or a vision?
They kind of felt like both. I'm not really sure. It was just a bad experience he had.
Okay.
You have to ask him what he felt like it was.
You don't remember?
I remember he was very alarmed by it and upset by it.
Okay. And was he alarmed enough and upset enough that did he Did both of you get up and knock on the door of Lori's door?
No,
Did either of you try to locate Lori and say, is everything okay? Because this was alarming.
I did.
Did you knock on the door of
Yeah, I went over to her door and tried to open it and it was locked.
okay, but you didn't knock, right?
I might have. I don't recall.
Oh.
I just know I tried to get in.
Okay, and it wasn't opened.
Right.
Did you go down to the other bedroom that was closer to where you and David were staying and checked on that bedroom?
No.
Okay. Okay. And then after this alarming event that was so traumatic to David, you slept in until what time?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I probably woke up around 7 or something in the morning. I don't know.
Okay. And from previous testimony, you indicated that you took off and left at about 9:30. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
Okay. And at that point, again, even though David had this traumatic experience about this nightmare, you didn't ask to see JJ, did you?
Objection, Your Honor, argumentative.
Overruled.
You didn't ask to see JJ.
It's possible I did. I don't recall what I said to her when I came downstairs.
Okay. Well, you make a lot of comments, it's possible, but you don't remember asking to see JJ, do you?
I remember when you're meeting with somebody for a full weekend, you don't remember all the conversations you have. You do your best to remember all that you can recall.
Well, I appreciate that because, in the beginning of your testimony with the prosecuting attorney, you were very clear about all of these memories that you had about zombies, about dark and light.
Objection, Your Honor, this is a narrative. Move to strike. It's argumentative.
Sustained.
You were very clear on your testimony about zombies. You didn't have a memory loss about that, did you?
No,
You didn't have a memory loss about dark and light, right?
no.
You didn't have a memory loss about how often you saw Chad, right?
Sometimes I remember seeing him. It wasn't a memorable weekend to remember when he came in and out all the time.
But you were very clear about all of the things that Lori Vallow told you at the bequest of Chad. You were real clear about that, weren't you? No?
I said, yeah.
Okay. Judge, I don't know if you want to, I unfortunately have quite a ways to go now, and I apologize to the court, but I got a ways to go.
Oh, you don't need to apologize, Mr. Pryor. We'll take our time to get through this witness, but we are towards the end of where we're going to get.
And that's how it ended today. I have Googled. I cannot find anything that substantiates whether Zulema or Melanie Gibb have it, any type of immunity. I do know that back in the preliminary hearing for Chad Daybell, Pryor asked her that question. It was a direct question and it was asked under oath. And she had to have answered it honestly. And I think, because like Wendy Adelson has use immunity, or did. I don't know what she's got now, but when she testified at Charlie Adelson's trial, she did. But both sides were aware of it. So I cannot imagine a scenario where Melanie Gibb or Zulema would have some type of any type of immunity, and it wouldn't have come up yet in either one of those trials. In either one of, and it hasn't come up yet with Melanie, and it didn't come up last time with Melanie or Zulema in Lori's trial. So.
Yeah, if there was, he would make a point about it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make a deal for your testimony to be here? And I know he asked that, and I remember him asking it too in the first one. I can't remember exactly the line of questioning, but I do remember it coming up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm glad that he's given her hell because she deserves it. So
she does.
Push her on everything she says.
She does. And Pryor is not wrong. How is it that you are able to remember the teachings? because that's really what it boils down to. The stuff that Lori is passing from Chad to the group are his teachings. So that part you remember in great detail. But other things you're like, I feel like it's possible. I can't really, I'm not sure. I get why he's not wrong in pointing that out. He's
Yeah, I
not
agree.
wrong.
Completely agree.
He's not wrong.
Completely agree. And I want to know about the text too. That's concerning. 300
It
and
is.
sometimes you're texting the prosecutor. Jeez.
And in some of those texts you talk about protecting your church.
Yeah.
Which church would you be
What?
talking
Like,
about, Melanie?
mhm.
The church you
Yeah.
claim publicly, or the church you seek, or the church you actually belong to? Which one are you talking about?
Yeah. Mm-mm.
I know, yeah, Ash, she did say that. She said that she remembered that stuff because she's talked about it so much over the years. But they've talked about a lot of things so much over the years, particularly that last night that anybody ever saw JJ alive in that townhome, when David had his nightmare that he had to be that this one, I don't even really know how to say this without making fun of it. I really don't. This is a grown ass man who had a screaming Mimi, and here comes Melanie, knocking on Chad and Lori's door, calling Chad and Lori, texting Chad and Lori, getting no response for a fucking screaming Mimi nightmare. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Something is very
Right?
wrong with that story.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. But David has a nightmare, so you go to talk to Lori about it? What?
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, you want Chad to give a blessing. That's what's going to help. How did she put it? Um priesthood blessing.
Yeah.
That's going to help with night, in the middle of the damn ass night. No. Something is not right there.
Rob Wood, I do believe Wood is, yeah.
Yes,
During
he
the
is.
meeting, he is, yeah. And I found an article where when they were trying to get him off the case, and yeah, it says during one of the meetings about that, Wood also discussed his LDS faith and appeared to allege Chad Daybell was the instigator of the plot that allegedly led to the deaths of Lori's children. So that's kind of interesting. I know, but many people are there. Nate Eaton is too, you know. So I mean, I don't know.
But I think it's the LDS church is different in that nobody makes an issue, right? If the person who's testifying is a Christian and the person who's doing the questioning is a Christian, right? Most people don't really think about that. But because some of the things that happened in this case occurred in a temple, which is a very, very sacred place to Mormons. No, you and I couldn't just go in there. Not everybody gets to go to the temple. It's like a big deal. And it's not, if you're getting sealed together in the temple, it's a sealing for eternity. It's almost It's a huge deal to the Mormons. It's huge. It's one of the most sacred covenants you can make, and
Right.
to be sealed in the temple. And for that to have happened to Lori and Chad when they were both legally married and in the eyes of the church married to other people is a huge deal. So it's just it's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
And the thing about the nightmare that rubs me the wrong way is it just seems it seems really extra. I mean, I think every person that's in this chat and is listening and not, not chatting, but will listen later. All of us have had a fucking nightmare. Okay. But I can assure you that, and I've had some doozies, but I've never run around the house looking for somebody to give me a fucking blessing. Most of the time, I don't even wake anybody up. I just wake up and I'm like, damn, that was fucked up. I'll go smoke a cigarette and then I will take my bed back to bed. I ain't trying to disrupt the whole household. It's not like they were in this, sprawling estate with, several wings and, a rumpus room and a billiards room and a library and a butler's pantry. They're in a freaking 3-bedroom apartment. Those are not that big. So, I mean, it's just,
Yeah. Mm-mm.
There's something wrong there, and I don't know. It's, it is what it is. And I'm not knocking there. Listen, everybody's religion, that's special, sacred, and personal unto other people. And the only reason that I'm talking about it at all is because it has so much to do with this case. That's it. And it is what it is. I'm not trying to be offensive. I hope I did not offend anybody. I have been to a Mormon church, but never in their temple, ever. I went to one of their services, but never, you can't just, whatever. It's that whole ceiling in the temple is a very interesting and odd twist. But I'm going to let you guys go. We've been on a couple of hours. It's a school night for everybody. Allie's got to get the kids up for school. I've got to get to bed because we have the rest of the testimony tomorrow. And I have a feeling, I'm curious if they're going to do it in a similar order. Who was after Melanie G? Wasn't Zulema next?
I don't remember,
Last time,
but
Allie?
wait, am I muted?
No, I can hear you, babe.
Okay. I wasn't on the screen, so I couldn't get back to it to see, and I was like, oh no. So I can't remember who went after her, but I know we have a lot of new people also testing this one that didn't in that one, many which will be defense witnesses. But what about the other Melanie? And so I'm wondering.
I think, if I remember right, Melanie Gibb was the first non-expert law enforcement testimony. And then I think it was supposed to be Melanie Pulowski, but she accidentally on purpose watched Melanie Gibb's testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then she couldn't testify. Then there was that. So, and I think they replaced Melanie P with Zulema. And then I think after Zulema came David Warwick. And then after that, it was Audrey, I think.
I don't know, Jen. I have a bad memory. I can't remember.
Me too.
You're doing
I'll
way
look
better
it
than
up.
I am.
I'll look
Yes,
it up. And I'll tell
David.
Yeah, David Warwick.
He
That's
was
what I
either
said.
right before Melanie or right after.
No, he was after,
I
and
think he
here's
was-
how I knew he's after, and here's how I know. Because
Okay.
he was asked the same question Mel P was asked, and he did watch some of Melanie Gibb's testimony, and he admitted it.
Yep.
But then he
Yep, you're
realized
right.
what it was, and he turned it off. So he had to have testified after her. But I think the order was messed up, and David was put in, or Zulema, one of them was put in earlier than they were supposed to be because of what Melanie P did. So, yeah.
Well, shit, I lost my thought, and I had a good one. It was, it was gonna be a good one, but I'm too tired, and I don't know if it will come back to me. And we're ending anyway. So.
All right, you guys. Well, thank you, Allie, for being up here with me. And thank you guys in the chat for being here. I appreciate it very, very much. And I will see all of you guys back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. Court starts at 10:30. We'll have a little gossip sesh before it starts, a little catch up, and then more John Pryor versus Melanie Gibb. All right.
Okay,
Good night,
sounds like a
everybody.
plan.
Thank you, guys. Good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye.